that listening to what is being said in the economic debate, in the economic discourse, I still get the strong sense that we are confusing the dominance of particular ideas, the hegemony of particular ideas, with being right. That a certain economic logic has become dominant in South Africa. That certain economic ideas have become dominant in South Africa does not mean those who hold them and those who parrot them are correct. Especially if it is ideas that do not take sufficiently the lived reality of the poor and the working class. And what I'm referring to here, going back to the 2014 elections, is the fact that many politicians and commentators have been talking about the possibility of political realignment in South Africa. Now, the 2014 election is not going to deliver political realignment. Realignment in political science means something very specific. Realignment occurs when it delivers a dramatic change in the political system. And this election is not going to deliver a dramatic change in the political system. Secondly, there are several forces that can deliver realignment. The power of money is one, because money can buy political power. But I do think that it is, in this country, the working class and the poor who are going to deliver political realignment at some point in the future. The question for me is whether the power of money and the interests of the poor and the working class, as far as their capacity to influence the content of political and policy decisions, will come into conflict or not. And of course, you have to look at what is going on in COSATU, which I find quite interesting. It looks like a very interesting game of chess to me. What is going on in COSATU is informed in part by the reality that the majority of COSATU shop stewards have shifted from a position they've held for the past 2 decades. Their position currently is that if a Labour or Workers' Party were to be formed, about 67% of them would vote for such a Labour Party. In the past, that has not been the case. In the past, consistently, about 67% of them have argued that they would not vote for such a Workers' Party or Labour Party, but would continue voting for the ANC. So in part, the ructions that you see in COSATU, the positions NUMSA in particular is taking, are informed by this changed reality in the sentiment of the majority of COSATU shop stewards. Because what it suggests is that a market is developing on the left of the ANC. The question is whether there is a gap in that market and whether the forces that are doing battle inside COSATU today will succeed in opening up that gap sufficiently. But for business, the outcome of this election is not insignificant. And I do not believe that business is disinterested in the outcome, in this sense. When we met last year, I argued that Jacob Zuma received a very strong mandate in Mangaung, and that has opened up the space for him to be decisive in the policy decisions he makes. There is a scenario in which, in this election, the ANC may receive a much stronger mandate than many of us believe, because many of us seem to think the ANC will fall below 60%. If, as I seem to think, it won't fall below 60% and receives a relatively strong mandate. If you listen to what he said in Bombela, when he cautioned COSATU indirectly that aspects of the NDP will be implemented with or without COSATU's consent, A strong electoral mandate would suggest that the ANC government would be more decisive in the policy decisions it makes. Decisive in a manner that would be intended to boost confidence in the markets and in business.